Hello, Linda from Barlates Body Blitz here, little Minnie in her donut bed. Today we're going to do another walk and talk. It's going to be around 5,000 steps, give or take, moderate to fast pace, keeping it low impact, and definitely a chat. So if you don't like me yabbering on the entire time, please choose one of the workouts that does not have walk and talk in the title, because this one is definitely going to be a chat. Now we're going to get started, as always, just marching in place. And as I say, if you want to walk around the room, then do that. If you don't like any of the steps that I'm going to be doing coming up, then just march in place or dance around, do whatever makes you feel good. This is all about keeping that body moving. And the very first exercise is going to be 2 heels in front and then tap up to the side. Heel and tap and tap. Come with me. So keeping it really nice and easy to start with so that the body can heat up. Making sure you keep your posture really nice and straight throughout this workout. Tummy's pulled in, nice long neck, up and up. And just keeping those knees soft as well, especially if you're not wearing shoes like me. I like to do walking workouts without shoes. I like to do pretty much all my workouts without shoes because I think it's really good for your feet. It strengthens them. So that's the reason why, if you've ever wondered. So we're going to be talking about the topic of worthiness, of loving yourself, of feeling enough. And why am I talking about this? We're going to punch and just switch our legs out to the side, little toe tap. The reason why this is related to exercise and to walking and to weight loss is because it's the very foundation of our well-being. How we feel about ourselves is basically the absolute fundamental foundation about how we look at life, how our body feels and reacts to our thinking, how healthy we are mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's also the foundation of all of our relationships, because how can we love others if we don't love ourselves? So there's so much hinging on it. Let's go forward, back, easy walk. There is so much hinging on how we feel about ourselves. And in terms of just really quickly, technically going into why it impacts things like weight loss, simply because when you don't like yourself very much, you tend to treat yourself quite harshly. And even though you don't kind of think of treating yourself harshly in the same way as other people treating you harshly or life treating you harshly, it is the same thing to your body, to your nervous system. It can't actually tell the difference between a real threat from the outside and a perceived threat, which comes from the inside, your own mind. So we're going to go side to side, up and down, pulling those elbows down to your waist. It may seem strange that we put ourselves in what's called fight or flight mode, or that high stress mode, simply by the way we think. You wouldn't think that's a thing, but neurologically it's been proven that if you think something, your body feels the same emotional response and nervous system response as if you're actually doing it. So that's why PTSD, for example, is such a real thing. Simply because those people went through this really traumatic situation, side, front, side and in, side, front, side and in. If this is too complicated for you, just do a tap out to the side. So people with PTSD, they go through really intensely traumatic experiences and then they keep reliving it over and over, sometimes for years, unless there's some sort of intervention that helps them to reframe that traumatic experience. They can continue to relive that for their entire life. So why is that? It's not like there's an actual threat. It seriously is just their brain making their nervous system feel as if it's happening right now. Let's go 2 taps and 2 taps. So tapping your heel if you can, otherwise just a diagonal butt kick at the back. And I want a little kind of twist through the waist. So in the same way, on a much lesser level, you can also think yourself into stress. You can start thinking about something that hasn't even occurred yet. Maybe you're anxious about an upcoming event. Maybe you're anxious about something that happened in the past that's unresolved. And all of those things, just thinking about them can actually give you physiological effects. So you could, for example, start sweating. You could start feeling your heart rate increasing. Side step and then tap your heel in front. You could just start breathing more shallow or more quickly, chest breathing rather than that calm kind of stomach breathing, lower stomach breathing. There are many ways it can show up in your nervous system when you are feeling anxious or stressed because of something you're thinking about. And in the same way, you can also change the way your whole body feels or how happy you feel by thinking about something happy. So just think about someone or something that you really love, and you immediately start to kind of smile, and it makes you feel better just thinking about maybe that beautiful little pet or your child. We're going to go to the other side. Or a holiday you went on that was really amazing, some sort of experience, or your favorite hobby. Maybe you love dancing, or maybe you love some sort of sport. It makes you feel happy just thinking about it. So if our thoughts are so powerful to totally make us change our physiology and subsequently let us feel happy or unhappy, then what does that mean about the way we think about ourselves in terms of loving ourselves, in terms of thinking we are worthy of something, someone? We're going to do a little sweep across with a knee up. Is it really the outside world with all of the things that are happening around us that are making us feel a certain way? Or is it because we are perceiving something in a certain way and we are then assigning certain beliefs or meanings to those circumstances, and those thoughts are actually making us feel in a certain way, whether it be negative or positive? There's been so many studies done that show that we get what we expect. It's really interesting. Let's go 2 to the side and 2 to the other side. For example, there was this one study I heard of where they had mice in a laboratory. Not that I like all of this animal testing, but it was a study that was done. And they had multiple groups of mice, all in different cages, and they put labels on the cages. On one cage they would put smart, maybe it was a scale out of 1 to 10, and they would put a level of how smart these mice were out of 1 to 10. The next day, and this was all fictional by the way, not fictional, this was all made up, so the mice were all the same, exactly the same. There weren't different smartness levels, or at least they hadn't tested them. So what they did was they put those labels on, and then the next day, let's go 2 to the front and 2 to the side again, but directly to the front this time. And the next day, some new scientists came in, and they had to put these mice through a maze. And they had to see which mice were the quickest to get through the maze, which obviously to them meant they were the smartest. Now, with the preconceived idea that some mice were smarter than others because of the labels on the cages, the mice that made it through the cage faster, lo and behold, were the mice that were smarter, or supposedly smarter. Now, why was that? Was that simply because, let's go side step, was that simply because they maybe treated them better, they were more careful with them? I don't know. Or was it because they had the expectation and somehow energetically they projected onto them that they were going to do well? Who knows exactly why that happened? But the fact is that it did happen. And those same sort of experiments have been done countless times. They've even been done with humans, with children in classrooms, where a new teacher that came in was told that certain children were smarter than others, even though that wasn't true from the previous test results. In fact, those children were the ones that did the worst. But because this teacher thought, one and back, so side, diagonal back, because the teacher thought that these kids were particularly smart, that was the teacher's expectation. And once again, whether it was because they treated them differently, maybe gave them extra attention, who knows. But these kids outperformed the ones who were actually smarter in terms of test results from previous tests. So, what does that tell you? It tells you that the way you think about a situation, the expectation you have about a situation, will change the outcome. Seems bizarre, right? And I think we're only just starting to really understand these things. It's only the tip of the iceberg in terms of the whole, let's just go one knee on one side. In terms of the whole quantum physics thing, you know, like multiple realities and all of that, I don't get it. Like, I kind of like to know facts in terms of what I believe, that there's actual scientific proof behind what I believe. So with certain things, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But when people from multiple different disciplines, specialists from different disciplines, come up with the same conclusions, that's when it kind of catches my attention and I go, okay, well, at the end of the day, it can't hurt, can it? It can't hurt to try and be more positive. It can't hurt to, instead of thinking negatively, to try and frame things in a slightly more positive way. Other leg. This one's a little bit faster. You can do it at your own pace, by the way, if this is too fast. So why not believe it and think to yourself, maybe thinking more positively about a situation is going to get me a more positive outcome. Because, like, why not? Why not try and find things to be happy about, things to be excited about, things to enjoy in life that bring you joy, instead of having a victim mentality, instead of thinking things are going to turn out bad, instead of just constantly having negative kind of thoughts. Let's pull behind, squeeze your shoulder blades together and tap and tap. Now, of course, easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to be positive from now on, because that doesn't really gel. There's a thing called cognitive dissonance, where what you say and do doesn't line up with what you really believe. So, how do you change the core belief about yourself? Before I answer that question, and this is all from my own personal experience, I'm not some specialist, I'm not telling you this is exactly what you need to do in case someone comes after me for it. Seriously, this is my experience of what has helped me. So, let's go side and step. So, side knee pull and step together. So before I start talking about how to reframe it, I want to use a little analogy that has really helped me, and I think I've mentioned it before in one of my other walks, but I want to elaborate on it a little bit more. So, when you were born as a little baby, you did absolutely nothing to be loved or to feel worthy. Now, I'm talking about the majority of children with the majority of loving parents. I'm not talking about the situations that are very unfortunate where parents do not behave like real parents should. I'm talking about, let's go other side, ideal parenting, where the mother and father love their child and they think it's the absolute best thing that's ever been created, and no matter what they do, they can do no wrong. No matter how they look, they're the cutest, most gorgeous looking baby, and every little goo and gar is just amazing, right? So you were that baby once. Let's just say you were that baby once. Maybe your parenting wasn't on point or perfect, but let's just say, ideally, in an ideal world, you were that baby once and you did absolutely nothing. In fact, you caused more problems, right? Let's do knees side to side. You pooed in your nappy, you cried all the time, you vomited on people, you drooled, you had to be carried around everywhere, you caused all these issues. You did nothing to kind of earn your food or earn love in any way. You didn't even have the consciousness to do that. And yet, you felt entitled to be looked after. And you cried when you didn't get what you wanted. So we are all inherently born with this ability to know that we are lovable and that people should look after us, and that the world is a good place, side and little kick, side and little kick, and that it's to be enjoyed. And you can see little children exploring, curious, loving life, right? Their entire existence is all about enjoying life. And it's only until they get to a certain age where usually a parent decides that they're old enough that they should have known something or learned something, and that they were misbehaving in some way, and that they get told off and told not to do something, sometimes maybe in a very stern way, which they're not used to, when all of a sudden they start to have limits imposed on them. And when all of a sudden they get the idea that I'm doing something bad and mummy doesn't like this when I do this, and that I have to behave a certain way for mummy to love me. Okay, that's the child mind correlating being disciplined with doing something wrong. Now, I'm not saying that you can't discipline your kids. That's far from what I'm saying. But I'm saying that no matter how gentle you are, when you discipline your child, there is a message sent that they're doing something wrong. And unfortunately, your brain or the child's brain goes to, I'm not good enough. I need to behave this certain way. Let's go march in place. I need to behave a certain way to get my needs met. And so the child will start to change its behavior according to what the caregivers expect from the child. And often it means that they suppress some of their true self. So if every child is born 100% their true self, and as we get older, through our interactions with life with other people, we are taught to put on masks or to start acting in certain ways in order to have our genuine biological needs met. Then you end up splitting off. Let's go side to side. Arms nice and wide, point your fingertips. You end up kind of fracturing yourself. And the longer you go through life, the more experiences you have, negative experiences, the more you fracture away from your true self. And it's always there. The true self is always there. Some people call it a soul. Some people call it a spirit. I don't know what you want to call it. I like to try and call it your true self. It's always there, no matter what happens in life. But you also have this other self, sometimes multiple other selves, that you present to the world. Come back to walking in place. So these masks that we wear might be some slightly different mask for when we're at work. It might be a different mask for when we're with friends. It might be a different mask when we're with family. There's so many masks that we can wear that hide our true self. And depending on how long you've been doing this, you might not even know who you are. You might not even know your true self. You might have distanced yourself so much, disassociated yourself so much from your true self that you don't even know how to get back there anymore. And it's definitely a sad thing, but it is possible to reconnect. And it takes time. It's a process. We're gonna do butt kicks. It takes time and it's a process. Let's do doubles and doubles. This music's kind of a little bit of a weird tempo, so don't worry so much about the tempo. We'd have to go super fast in order to keep up with it. So we're just gonna go like a fast butt kick. So you can reconnect with it, and parts of the way of doing that is through things like meditation, through checking in with yourself, through learning your own cues, your nervous system cues of when you're feeling stressed or even when you're feeling happy, learning to connect again with your body through breath work, through, as I said, meditation, sometimes through yoga. There's many different ways of doing that. We're gonna go front and front with a punch side, punch front. But even before that step, you do need to genuinely start believing that you are worthy to have a life that's filled with love and joy. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I know there's always going to be ups and downs, but you can navigate those ups and downs with a positive attitude if you believe that you are lovable and that you are worthy of things going well for you. If you have had people who had these bad expectations of you your entire life, who have perhaps put you down, let's go 2 taps on one side, 2 taps on the other side. Maybe you've been put down your whole life. Maybe someone's been telling you you're not good enough in some way your whole life, or different people throughout your life. And you have just had so much confirmation from various sources that you feel they are true and correct. So then what do? You actually adopt other people's attitude as well and do the same thing to yourself that they are doing to you. Your expectation of yourself becomes very limited and skewed, and you start thinking about yourself that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not lovable, whatever the blank is, fill in that blank with what you feel. Let's go punch and step back, step front knee and step back. So the first thing to do is to, number one, believe that you are worthy. How do you do that? Go back to the baby analogy. That baby was beautiful and perfect and worthy without doing a single thing. Just because people decided at some point that the baby was doing something wrong, that was just their mentality, their mindset, and they were operating from their own conditioning, right? They also had trauma in their past. It may not have been big trauma, but it was enough for them to see the world in a certain way. So when we are able to disconnect ourselves from what other people believe, let's go knee, other side, exactly the same thing, punch, punch, and knee. When we're able to start disconnecting ourselves from what other people think, and we start being able to tune in to ourselves just that little bit more, we can start to find our true selves and reconnect with it. Just think about little things that give you hints about who you really are. Why is it that you want to be loved? Why is it that you like to do good things for people? Why is it that you are searching for something meaningful in your life, a meaningful career, a meaningful relationship? Why is that? Big crisscross and then across with the heel. So step touch, across, across. Is it because innately in the midst of every human heart is a desire for something good? Yes, there's people that do the wrong thing, but innately, don't you feel that you've always just wanted to do something good? Don't you feel like you have wanted to make a change in this world for the better in some way? Whether it be by bringing up your children really well, whether it be by having a career that is fruitful in some way in helping other people. There's so many reasons why we can, or so many hints that we can see. Let's go side to side and wave our arms overhead. There's so many hints that we can see in our own desires that we are innately good people. And maybe go down here. Now, if you want to prance, just pick up your heels and come up on your toes a little bit. Maybe back up here. Just think about your desires in life. What wishes do you have towards people, good, like people that you love in your life? What wishes do you have for your future, for your career, for hobbies, for travel? Are they good or are they bad? Are you evil? Are you constantly thinking evil things towards people that you love? Tap back, tap back. Or are you always wanting the best for people? And even though you might not know how to execute that very well, in your heart, do you usually think kind things or do you think negative things? And this is no judgment because everyone thinks negative as well, but I'm talking about the predominant feeling that you have when you really sit down and you think about what do you want, what do you enjoy, what do you love? All of those things, there's goodness in there, right? Where does that come from? It's you. It's you. It's the very heart of you. When you're the most happy, when you're the most free, that is when, let's go step across, and butt kick, butt kick. When you are the most free, laughing your head off at something, dancing around with your children or your pets or whatever, your friends, when you feel the most free and euphoric, that's the real you connecting with the real you. It's all about finding that freedom again, finding that joy. And daring to believe that you are good, that you have goodness within your soul, or whatever, the true you, whatever you want to call it, that is dying to get out, and that is actually going to not just in that process of emerging again or re-emerging, is not just going to heal you, but is going to heal people around you as well. Let's go kick and back. It's like a little Charleston kick. So instead of a knee now, we're doing a kick. Being the real you may seem really scary if you have been hiding under many masks. But I tell you what, this life is too short to live a lie. And the fact is that even thinking that people won't like the real you is a lie. People can sense energetically authenticity. They can sense it if you are lining up what you're saying and doing with how you feel. Because we're all energy people. Every single one of us is energy. And you can feel energy. So we're going to do the same thing, kick and tap. You can feel energy. Just think about any time you walk into a room and someone comes in that's really happy and positive. It lights up the whole room. It makes you want to be near them. And then think the opposite. Think about a time when someone comes over and they're a real drag. They're really kind of moping and down and out. It'll drag you down too, unless you're really strong in your own joyful energy. So everyone can sense energy, whether they think they can or not. Children and animals can definitely sense it. So if you ever want to see if someone's legit or not, introduce them to your pet and see how your pet reacts. Let's go kind of like a little twist twist and tap, twist and tap. No, that's another story. But anyway, so basically, what I'm trying to say is find ways of reconnecting with the true you by asking yourself questions about what your true desires are and daring to believe that innately at the center of your core, you are good, and life circumstances may have made you feel differently about yourself, but just in the way that you morphed away from your true self, you can morph back in. Okay, that's the exciting thing. Our brain is plastic, side and front. We can rethink, recreate those neuro pathways and change the way we think about ourselves, one thought at a time. Unfortunately, it does take work to undo all of those spider webs of negative thought patterns, but it's not to say that it has to take a lifetime, and you just start. You just start somewhere. Like I have said in some of my other walks, choose a better thought. It's as simple as that. When you start thinking negatively about yourself or a situation, just stop for a second. Recognize that you're doing it. That's actually, let's just tap our front and then tap our back. Recognizing that you are thinking about something in a way that does not really benefit you is the very first step to changing it. So maybe that's where you start, you just recognize it and do nothing else. Or once you've done that a few times, you decide to think something slightly better about that situation. Say it's someone that annoyed you at work, or a child that did something. Just think something positive, just a little bit more positive. It doesn't have to be amazing, but just think, okay, this child has been naughty all day, draining my energy, but I'm so blessed to have this child because there's so many people that don't have children and they would love children. Let's just go side to side, tap out, but with a little kind of a bounce in the middle. I'm not jumping, I'm just lifting my heels, bouncing a bit. May as well pick it up a little bit. We're kind of coming towards the last few rounds. Well, I think there's about 8 rounds left. So may as well get more steps in. So yeah, start reframing the negative thoughts one thought at a time. And there's no right or wrong. You literally are just making progress, not perfection, one step at a time. Some people like to do this little practice where at the end of the day, they think about their day and they write down in the journal maybe what they liked about the day. Let's go 2 across. What they did well that day, maybe what they could have done better that day, and then even visualize yourself doing that thing better, handling that situation better. Visualization is a very important tool because, like we said earlier, using PTSD as the example, when you visualize something and you attach emotions to it and you see yourself in the situation, your brain does not know the difference between that and between actually doing it. So you are mentally rehearsing doing something and your brain is building neuro pathways as if you were actually doing it. Isn't that cool? 2 of these, 2 on the other side. So you can just sit there and daydream and think about things in a more positive way, and your brain is doing work in there, actually reframing the way it ticks. The way it goes from A to B, from neuron to neuron. This beat's quite fast. I'm not really following the beat. I'm just gonna slow it down a bit and breathe. So believe in yourself and build that belief by doing tiny little things that you stick to. Because often, let's just go side to side. Often the reason why we don't follow through on things and the reason why we sabotage ourselves is because we don't truly believe that we're capable of doing it. So we don't even want to try, or we try it for a bit and then we say, oh, I just couldn't do it. It just didn't work for me. Was it that? Or were you scared because maybe you got it wrong? Maybe you didn't do it 100% perfectly and you didn't want people to laugh at you, or you didn't want to be a failure, so you stopped before you even got started. All the times that we do that, we are only telling ourselves, teaching ourselves that we are, let's go back to that prance, single, single, double. Single, single, double. We're teaching ourselves that we're unreliable. We're teaching ourselves that we cannot rely on ourselves. And that is not a good thing, because we need to be reliable to ourselves. We are the only ones that can really count on us. So if we believe that we're unreliable, then we're not going to think very highly of ourselves, right? So how do you become more reliable? Just do one small thing, make it a daily habit, and stick with it. Soon, you will feel a little bit more secure in yourself, a little bit more confident that you can do things and stick to them. Then maybe habit stack. Do another little thing. Let's go 2 diagonal front, 2 diagonal front. Do another little thing. It may be, okay, example, drink more water. Get a drink bottle, keep it by your work desk, keep one in the car, keep one wherever near the TV, drink more water. Not a ridiculous amount of water, people, not those massive bottles that nobody can finish, just a little bit more than what you usually do. Do that every single day. It's okay if you don't do it every day, if you don't drink enough, if you don't meet your quota every single day, but be consistent with it. And then once you've done that for a month, then maybe you want to stack on a habit. Take 1 supplement with your water. When you drink your water in the morning, take 1 supplement, in, out, out. We're going to kind of go a little bit faster here because we're nearly done. This is our second last interval, and we want to make sure we get our steps in. So habit stack, take a vitamin, or do some stretching. Do 5 minutes of stretching or walking in place or breathing, deep breathing when you drink your water. And do that for a while. And don't stress yourself out if you miss some, if you forget some days, but just do it as consistently as possible. Slowly as you do these little things, and I'm not talking about things that are too hard to maintain. I'm not saying start doing keto, fasting, and exercising every day. No. I'm talking about, let's just finish with butt kicks. I'm talking about little things that you can easily do that are going to be the foundation of habits that you can maintain over the long term that will help you to slowly build belief in yourself again, that you can do things, that you're reliable, that you're trustworthy. And doing these little tiny things, bit by bit, adding on more each month, each few months, each year, you will learn to trust yourself again, and hopefully then get to that point where you can love yourself, and start changing and reframing some of these ways of thinking that have not been serving you. We're done, people. So that was a lot. And each time I talk to you guys, I'm kind of adding some things together from previous conversations and expanding on other things. So I really hope you get to listen to some of my other walk and talks, because they're all kind of interrelated. Some are more practical, some are more about your mindset. I really hope it helps someone. This sort of stuff has helped me so much, and I really want to pass it on to people that have been stuck in ways of thinking that are just not bringing them joy. Because as I always say, this life is too short to live a miserable life. Honestly, this life is so short, you may as well enjoy it. No matter what your situation is right now, no matter what the obstacles are in your life right now, you can find joy in something. You can find something to be happy about, even if it's just your workouts. So go and find some joy today or tonight, and I look forward to walking with you again very soon. Bye for now.